kind of want to just play it out and just not have any I don't know if that's gonna work, but if it doesn't, then I'll just have to roll with it. One thing I found to be very interesting was just this dynamic of I mean, what the name states, the art of self-defense, and what they describe what an art is, like a set of convictions and beliefs that is tallied together, and it's like the art of self-defense has different avenues given to characters, and I find it very interesting, just like Jesse Eisenberg's character, his ambitions, his goals, and how everything kind of connects together. And it's just really interesting. Really is an interesting thing. Okay. So yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna make this be. But yeah, there's a very interesting way of playing. Yeah, pretty interesting movie. But it doesn't really have any statements on like.
Is on. No reinforcements available.
Wow.
Enemy near Main Street.
Headquarters. Capture and defend each HQ as it comes online. HQ contested. Enemy on the HQ, defend. They disabled the HQ, reinforcements inbound. Okay, get ready to move. Enemy personal radar in the air.
Yeah,
New HQ.
I guess I'm just talking to you. So, what kind of movie does that?
HQ active. Move to secure. Securing the HQ. Enemy personal radar in the air. HQ is on. No reinforcements. No reinforcements available. HQ contested. Enemy on the HQ. Defend. Enemy personal radar in the air. HQ shut down. Regroup. Okay, get ready to move. Friendly care package inbound. New HQ established. Allied cruise missile. Capturing the HQ, go! We've lost the HQ. disabled. Get ready to... Almost done here. Ready up.
Yeah.
UHQ
I
is
like how in the movie it was really dry. Real dry. Dry language, dry speech. Everything was very literal. Kind of reminded me of those little Asian movies.
Enemy at the courtyard.
HQ active. Move to secure. HQ HQ secured. Hold out as long as you can. Can't send reinforcements yet. Hold for the next wave. Perimeter breach. Defend it.
Wow. That's how you do it.
Target
Halfway there.
Hit
Get
him.
fighting. HQ shut down. Regroup. Almost done here. Ready up. Allied cruise missile away. New location ID.
Enemy at the buses.
HQ is online. HQ lost. Enemy cluster strike incoming. Take cover. Enemy personal radar in the air. HQ contested. We're disabling the HQ. We're losing control. HQ secure. Next HQ up in 10. Get ready. New location ID.
Enemy at the courtyard.
HQ is online. Secure. Securing the HQ.
Enemy at the scaffold.
HQ contested. Enemy personal radar in the air. HQ contested. Taking the HQ.
Enemy at the buses.
Enemy get over there. HQ contested. HQ contested. We're taking the HQ.
Enemy at the scaffold.
HQ contested.
Enemy at the dock.
Capturing the HQ. Go. HQ contested. Enemy on the HQ, get over there. Enemy shield turret on the field.
Setting a claymore.
HQ contested. Taking the HQ. HQ disabled, get ready to move out. Get ready to move. ID. Enemy personal radar in the air.
Enemy at the scaffold.
HQ active. They're capturing the HQ. Go. HQ contested. Enemy on the HQ. Get over there. HQ lost. HQ contested. We're disabling the HQ. Location secured. Almost done here. Ready up. New HQ established. Enemy personal radar in the air.
Enemy at the scaffold.
Reload. Enemy clusters driving. We're on the HQ. Stand by. Radar in the air. HQ contested. HQ secured. Hold out as long as you can.
Enemy at the courtyard.
HQ contested. HQ contested. Perimeter breach. Defend the HQ. Can't send reinforcements yet. Hold for the next wave. Enemy personal radar in the air. Report ahead. HQ disabled. Get ready to move out. Next HQ up in 10. Get ready. New HQ established.
Enemy at the top.
Stand by. Enemy personal radar in the air. We secured the HQ.
Enemy at the left.
AO's too hot. You'll redeploy with the next HQ contested. Enemy on the HQ. Defend. squad down. Regroup. Next HQ up in 10. Get ready. New HQ established. Enemy on the HQ, get over there. They've taken the HQ. Disabling the HQ, keep your eyes open. Enemy shield turret on the field. We've taken the HQ. Next HQ up in 10. Get ready. Get to the new HQ.
Light movement.
Enemy at the courtyard. Enemy near Main Street.
HQ active. Move to secure. Enemy on the HQ. Get over there. HQ contested. We're taking the HQ. Enemy personal radar in the air. HQ contested. Less than a minute.
Enemy near Main
X-ray
Street.
spotted.
We're almost there. Let's bring it home. Securing the
Reloading.
HQ. HQ contested. HQ contested. Wendy Wilson on station, beginning sweep. Enemy on the HQ, get over there.
Enemy near Main Street.
HQ lost. Lost the lead. HQ contested. Shutting down the enemy HQ. 30 seconds. Time's up. Move your asses. HQ contested. Took a beating today. Not gonna take it lying down.
But sorry. But just I guess just talk about that movie for a quick moment. I liked the movie. People said it was weird, and at first I was like, expecting like something like "Sorry to Bother You" kind of weird. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy the weird part because I didn't think it was like helpful in any way. It was just like thrown in there with no proper context. Maybe just to show how crazy things are, and even in that you can start like a revolution or something. But like with this is a lot more, to me, cohesive, a lot more Like, it made sense. A lot of stuff made sense, even if it was like bizarre. It was like everything tied together. You know, like the stuff in the beginning connected to the stuff in the end, and I liked it. You know, but the idea wasn't so much about like karate. It was like the art of self-defense. You know, what will defend you. And even though the ambitions of the main character, his just to be like, he wants to be something to be feared. You know, he wanted to be the thing that was feared in other people. So essentially, to me, almost like dominance, like masculine dominance. And so the antagonist, let's call him antagonist. He's the one who incites the change, but it's almost like he's one of the agents of change, because in the very beginning, he victimized him essentially and led him to desire to be different. Yeah, wanted to be you know, not weak, you know. And so essentially, even through like the very end, you know, the person goes through his hero's journey. You know, he goes through the trials and all this stuff, the wisdom and all this other stuff, and so he comes out as a better person. You know, comes out as a more dominant person, as he not only fulfilling his goal, but to maneuver his goal properly. And you know, he takes out the antagonist in his own way, it was just so funny, because it was like it had a essentially close to a pro-gun message, but it used a lot of rationale rather than like condescension and like insults and ad hominem and all that crap. But it was just, I thought it was very competent. It was so funny because of how dry the language was, and it was like on purpose, you know, like it was like, you know, I'm going to get a handgun. How do I get a handgun? It is weird, because it almost seemed like it was like those 70s movies where they explain stuff and then they explained it in like a lot of detail. Here's how you do this. Step 1, put the thing and fold it in a perpendicular angle and yada yada yada. You know, it's not as lax, and it was almost like an infomercial for guns. And again, like the very end, I don't want to spoil it, but it's interesting, because the idea again is not about just the karate dojo. It's about the art of self-defense. So how do you defend yourself? You know, and so it shows even later on the idea of those who don't have the idea of self-defense. And one of the messages in the beginning is based off a film that the guy is watching, and he's like, you know, well, in this place there are no rules, you know, like he I guess, I don't know, it's like you said to break the rules, but in this one there are no rules. So it's like in art of self-defense, there are no rules in self-defense. There are no codes in which you follow that can be easily manipulated. You just do what you have to do to survive. And it was almost like, you know, he was smart. He took advantage of the concept. But overall, even if it is spoiling it, I just still think you should watch it. Whoever is listening, just take a watch at it. It's such a good movie. It is not. It might hold your hand on a few points, but it won't hold your hand on everything, you know. And it's just to me is a very. It's a lot. Let's just say that it's a lot, and it's just like, wow, this is a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, just want people to watch it. You know, like, and essentially, like, because the art of self-defense, even though it might be implied as karate, it pretty much can be anything, to be honest. It could be your fist or a gun or whatever. And the idea was just like, I guess it was kind of interesting, funny, and it's a bunch of spoilers, but it's like the Grandmaster, he's like almost like the poster child for the dojo's rules, because he died from a hunting accident, and he was a Grandmaster, and he assembled his rainbow belt, and almost a symbol of him winning this almost kumite, this death match of three other karate masters, but dies from a hunter accident. So I think that's the irony, because these things, like, you know, it killed him. It was an accident, you know, this thing. And I guess they said they mistook his head for a face. I think that's complete nonsense. But the idea is just like, he used all this discipline to kill 3 people, and he was killed carelessly, without discipline, on accident, by mistake. And so, the idea of this newer, what do you call it, party? I guess his protege has started this kung fu school, and essentially it was just very, you know, you get the impression starting off that, like, he wants to help the main character. He wants him to grow up, and he wants him to develop masculine traits, and you know, you learn that, like, they essentially blackmail him to just essentially join a cult, you know, like a karate death cult. And like, and it's only joined and continuously joined because of the lack of self-defense. They couldn't defend themselves, and essentially he couldn't, you know, it seems obvious to the outside man, but those in it see, like, this, they see the idea of playing by the rules, almost, you know. Man, the rules must be played. And of course, Jesse Eisenberg's character definitely couldn't win by those rules. But it's interesting because the goal was already implied at the very beginning. Again, it's spoilers, but, you know, he purchased a gun to defend himself against those who mugged him, which happens to be the people whom give him this alternative path to strength and power. And for him, he, you know, he is like with us. We're like, you know, yeah, take me on this journey. You know, I won't need this this fighting. You know, I mean, I won't need to just kill someone with a gun. You know, even though the quickest way to essentially protect yourself, to defend yourself, you know, the quickest way of self-defense. You don't need to go through this discipline. You don't need to be hounded by or manipulated by an authority figure, you know, and essentially blackmail. And the funniest thing, I won't even spoil it, but the funniest thing from this, it was just reminded me of Indiana Jones. Let's just say that it was just hilarious because it was so. But the idea wasn't like, this was hilarious, you know. This was just like, wow, I am surprised. I am so surprised, you know, because it was just like all this investment and build up wasn't so much it was just realistic. Let's just say that the most realistic outcome that could ever have occurred there, it happened. And so it was just kind of like, wow. But again, I don't know, I hope I didn't like spoil it. I just heard like, hey, this thing is kind of weird, and I was just expecting like magic and death and, you know, fantasy stuff, and I didn't get that for the most part, you know. But I got something that was just as compelling, a good story, a great story. And man, I just really want to spoil the heck out of this movie, but yeah, this movie was just freaking, it was well done, well written. Like, yes, the humor was dry, the talking was dry, but it was like dry on purpose, you know. And usually I'm like, oh, come on now, they're using dry language to kind of give off this indie vibe that's supposed to be, oh, it's so great, yet it's so dry. But nah, it's just, to me, competent writing. You know, I'm not a successful, prolific writer. I just think it's very competent, because it was like they knew what they were doing, and they weren't winking and nodding, saying, "Hey, we're trying to be creative." It was just like this was a world in which this was acceptable, and to me, as a viewer, I believed it. At first, I'm like, this reminds me of Napoleon Dynamite. This is very dry. At the same time, I'm like, I just learned like to accept it over the time because it's so consistent. It doesn't like wink or nod or just say, "Hey, this is silly." And even if it is, it's almost like you're joining a fantasy land of like Chronicles of Narnia, where like they say, like, let's say they say Old English, and you just left your world which spoke New English, and then you're like, yeah, I want to say this and thou. They say it all the time, and I'm compelled to say it. So yeah, and I was slightly glad. I kept expecting it, but I was slightly glad there wasn't really a love interest. It was just more so like a medium convictions. Because I've seen it so much that I've come to expect a love interest whenever I see a female, I guess, protagonist and a male protagonist. It just kind of comes up. But it was like, it wasn't really that happened here. It was like, she had caring, compassion for him, but that compassion wasn't necessarily like I'm gonna coddle you. It was more so like, I got my convictions, and I want you to follow your convictions, but I want you to follow them well while heeding the wisdom that I have, And it was pretty interesting to me, because it didn't really go anywhere. It was just like, if there was any form of care or compassion, it was just like, I hope you don't come back, and it was like you could words. She wasn't saying that like she was swooned over him. She was like, hey, I don't want you in this stuff, like, we're in here deep, it sucks, but I hope you don't come back so you don't have to experience this with us, so but I liked the movie. It was I liked it for its formation and his presentation of story and its transition to the point where it's like, oh wow, this is going to be something like Karate Kid, and then it's like, this is nothing like Karate Kid. Just how it like, I don't know, it just had, it's not really like charming like the guy who made like Isles of Dogs and a bunch of other stuff. Like, it's not charming like that in terms of his dry humor. It's charming oddly in its own way, where it's like Jesse Eisenberg to me can give a great performance while appearing to be the most, as they call, what's it, submissive type character. Like he does that pretty well, and it's sad because it's like, if he didn't go for that Lex Luthor, I'm definitely sure it's Lex Luthor, mindset, I would have been like maybe he should have just bulked up or something. Like Lex Luthor, to me, whenever I've seen him in cartoons, he's been muscular and very smart, and also arrogant. He wasn't like annoying arrogant, like I heard, like, no offense to Jesse Eisenberg, but it was like Jesse Eisenberg was like, to me, as if like he was a cockroach that couldn't be killed. That's what he seemed like, just a cockroach that couldn't be killed. Like, he just scurried around, he played with his antennas, tried to clean his antennas, and he just scurrying around, and then you look at it like, why is this thing alive? Just the character he produced, from that film. He was just kind of annoying, rather than like a villain that was like I'm gonna like a big brash arrogant villain. And I think maybe he should have, I don't know, maybe he should have just been like got buff or something, I don't know. But it's like he didn't carry I don't even know the dude's name. I've seen him in a bunch of films, but to me, like in the Joker movie, he didn't carry himself like that. Like Thomas Wayne, he was just like a arrogant asshole. Like he could have carried himself like that. And forgive me for the language, but it was almost like, I'm gonna follow my convictions, and I kind of don't care what you think about him. Jesse Eisenberg just didn't. He had that to a degree, but he had that, to me, because of narration. He didn't really have that because of his performance, you know. And I still like the idea, the idea of Superman being God, and that Lex Luthor was essentially the atheist, and the one who was an anti-theist against Superman being a god. I find that to be very profound. Just like, I know people don't like religion and stuff, but I just find that concept to be so profound. Like, he is God in the flesh, essentially, and that there are people who don't believe in him. They would rather he be exposed to be almost fraudulent, when Superman is just a hero who's trying to do his best. And in this universe, he's not even, his humanity is like, he's almost sociopathic, in which he can't empathize with humans, but slowly does so because of Lois, and also his task given by his father to protect the world. He's now like a savior figure, you know. He's now, yeah, he is essentially a Jesus figure. But yeah, again, I've seen Jesse Eisenberg in a lot of good movies, not so much a lot of good movies, and I'm not saying that against him, it's just I haven't seen too many movies. But this movie, The Art of Self-Defense, was a good movie. It was, and it didn't really show him. It didn't show him as like this typecast character that's supposed to be submissive and spineless and all this other stuff. He seemed like very smart, like the character that I seen from this movie, The Art of Self-Defense, was just a very mindful character. He wasn't so much of a massive dick to just kind of like, I mean, he kind of was at some points where he was like, you know, I'm gonna throw punch my boss, you know, you're not supposed to be friends. I'm like, wow. He's like, you're not supposed to do that, you know, you're a boss, you know. And then he's like, what are you guys talking about? He's like, I forget what he said. He was like, we're not gonna do this right now. He's like, you want to join us? Like something. Oh no, he said, hey, I threw a punch my boss, it felt awesome. And he's like, you want to join us? And then he's like, yes. And also, he said something like, I'm gonna take, oh, okay, but there's only 3 chairs, I'll take yours. And again, it was so funny because it was so blunt, but it was like, again, showing like his dominance. Like, I'm gonna do this and you're not gonna stop me, you know, because it's like he asserts his dominance. And again, it's like, don't try this at home. But it was like, to me, it felt like power fantasy. I think it was, but it was just so funny because of how blunt that power fantasy was. Because it was like he had the skills, and he felt empowered by his belt, so he wore his belt. He was like, you know, like he was just like very blunt about stuff. And this was like him taking into account his dominance to the point he was hyper masculine, he was hyper dominant, and he hyper competent, something like that. But yeah, and he just kind of asserted himself everywhere. And I was just like, that's funny. That was funny. You know, let's do push-ups. But then, yeah, I don't know, man. I just thought the story was really good. Again, when I looked at it, I was like, it had like the fresh thing of Rotten Tomatoes, but to me sometimes that could mean anything. To me it could. But when I gave it a shot because I wanted to, it was just kind of like, it reminded me slightly of Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, where it was like one of those titles is like, this doesn't look very interesting. It doesn't to me, but I gave it a shot. And then when I did, I was like, this is freaking amazing. Wow. I got Jim Carrey, Kirsten Dunst, and a bunch of other people. And I'm like, this is amazing. I could watch this over and over. Like watching The Secret Life of Mitty. That was amazing. It was a little more on the nose, but it was still good. And I could have been watching some other stuff. I mean, I think I seen like a friend bring a friend at the end of the world or something like that. I was like, woo, I'm sorry, it's a lot. Scott Pilgrim versus the World with Jesse Eisenberg. I'm hoping it's Jesse Eisenberg. No, it wasn't. It was Michael Cera. See, that's the thing. I always get them confused because they man, they are both beta male type characters. Like they play that beta role. But I think Michael Cera just killed that movie. Like, could it have been Jesse Eisenberg? Could have been. I don't know. I know Jesse Eisenberg, Michael Cera he has this boyish look. He kind of reminded me of Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man, where he had that boyish look. But like in this, it was like it just fit, you know. Because Scott Pilgrim, like the comic, he just had this. He was like in his mid-20s, and he was just trying to get back. He was a complete loser, getting over his ex, and I think she cheated on him, and he's cheating on her with essentially a fetish girl, a Chinese high schooler. When I was a kid, I was like, okay, I don't see why that's a problem, you know. I mean, maybe because she's young, you know, but even then, I don't even know if I connected any of that. But then when I grew up, I was like, oh snap, that makes a lot more sense. That's why you hate him. Because it was like, wow, you are detestable for like dating this high schooler, and this guy, he's supposed to be like essentially in college or post-college, but he's dating a Chinese high schooler. So to me, even though, what is it, I forget his name, the guy who made Scott Pilgrim, it's on the tip of my tongue, I can't remember his name, but essentially the guy is Canadian. So I'm like, I just kind of figured since Canada was so blended, I kind of just figured everybody was everybody, you know. So I feel like I'm gonna remember this. Dang, what is his name? Oh my gosh, no wonder they look the same. Carrie and Culkin. I was like, he kind of reminded me of him. Brian Lee O'Malley. That's his name, Brian Lee O'Malley. But yeah, Carrie and Culkin, because he looks just like his brother. He looked like his brother. He looked like McKay Culkin. Now I'm curious, who is he? He kind of reminds me of like, he got a boyish look too. He's like Tobey Maguire. He's like a boyish, got that boyish look. Allison Pill, but that, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm kind of getting too far into it. But yeah, I just kind of found that to be kind of weird. But either way, the art of self-defense, guys. I think it was great. I wasn't too sure. I could be wrong, but I wasn't. And also when I play Call of Duty, I just get too into the game. So we're gonna end this with a match, and hopefully you guys like it. Enjoy.
Enemies halfway there, step it up. We're disabling the HQ. Headquarters. Capture and defend each HQ. Location secured. Okay, get ready to move. Enemy UAV overhead. New HQ established.
Enemy at the scaffold.
contested. Enemy trying to shut down our HQ. Defend. Can't send reinforcements yet. On to the next wave. They disabled the HQ. Reinforcements inbound. Okay, get ready to move.
Enemy at the buses.
New HQ established.
Enemy at the courtyard.
Hostiles in the area.
Allied cluster strike inbound. HQ get a move on. They're capturing the HQ. They've taken the HQ. Enemy UAV on there.
Hostiles in the area.
HQ contested. We're disabling the HQ. We've taken the HQ. Almost done here, ready up. Enemy personal radar in the air. New HQ established.
Setting a claymore.
Enemy near Main Street.
Hostile.
Enemy at the stop.
HQ active. Move to the HQ contested. Enemy on the HQ. Get over there.
Enemy near Main Street.
Setting a claymore.
Enemy has captured the HQ. HQ contested. Shutting down the enemy HQ. We're getting hammered. Step it up. Location secured. Okay, get ready to move. Get to the new HQ.
Enemy at the courtyard.
Enemy VTOL in the
Hostiles in
AO.
the area.
HQ is green. Get a move. Enemy on the HQ. Get over there. HQ lost. Cluster strike incoming. Less than a minute. Enemy UAV overhead. Come back, soldier. Fight another day.
All right. See ya.